The video I'm about to tell you about. If it is real, then I think humanity is already over, and it's better if the world just ends. I said this because I felt that if such people exist in this world, then the world is heading in a very bad direction, a terribly wrong direction. But while searching for such cases and stories, I came across a true crime case that sounds fictional but is real. When the truth about this case came out, even the police staff thought it was a hoax. The police felt like someone was narrating the plot of a very disturbing horror movie. But as the evidence surrounding this case started coming out, both the police and the entire media were shocked. One name stood out, Josef Fritzl. He was a highly respected figure in society. Many people admired him, but no one had any idea what was going on inside his mind. Forget his mind. No one had any clue about what had been happening inside his house for years. Joseph was an elderly man who lived with his wife, Rosemary. Together, they had 7 children, one of whom was Elizabeth. Elizabeth was not like the other children. She and Joseph never got along. They were always fighting. Their constant conflicts kept the atmosphere at home tense. The real story began when Elizabeth left home to join a cult. One day, she just randomly ran away to join some cult. No one had any idea where she had gone. Joseph told Rosemary this story, but the truth was far darker. Elizabeth hadn't run away. She was right beneath her own home. And by beneath, I mean in an underground bunker, a secret chamber. Joseph had always had a survivalist mindset. He was obsessed with underground bunkers and secret chambers. He was so obsessed that he had built a secret chamber underneath his house's cellar, a bomb shelter, a bunker that no one knew about. One day, Joseph told Elizabeth, "I'm fixing a door in the cellar. I need an extra pair of hands." So he asked for her help, and Elizabeth agreed. As soon as they got downstairs, Joseph pulled a cloth from his pocket soaked in ether or chloroform and pressed it against Elizabeth's mouth while holding her down tightly so she couldn't struggle. The chemical knocked Elizabeth unconscious. When she woke up, she was locked inside a secret chamber beneath her own house. Inside the cellar, there were several rooms. One of them had a bookshelf. Behind the bookshelf was a hidden passage leading to the secret chamber where Joseph had imprisoned Elizabeth. This underground bunker had no ventilation, no sunlight, nothing. The rooms inside were tiny. The ceiling was only about 6 feet high. Despite its small size, the chamber had multiple rooms, meaning at least 2 or 3 people could live there. There were 2 tiny bedrooms, a living area, and a storage space. The day Elizabeth disappeared, Rosemary noticed she was missing and began asking Joseph about her. Joseph told Rosemary that Elizabeth had run away to join a cult and would never return. Joseph secretly brought food and water into the chamber to keep Elizabeth alive. Eventually, he decided he would never let her leave. Now comes the really dark part. Joseph didn't just keep Elizabeth hidden. He sexually assaulted her for 4 to 5 years. He assaulted her so many times that at one point she became pregnant. She gave birth to her baby inside that very chamber, and she had to raise that child inside that chamber. Within a year, Elizabeth became pregnant again, and then she gave birth to another child. She was now raising 2 children in total darkness, without fresh air or sunlight. Later, she gave birth to a third baby, but this time, Joseph took the baby out of the chamber. He put the infant inside a box and left it outside his house. He then told Rosemary that he had found the baby outside. Joseph convinced Rosemary that Elizabeth, after joining the cult, had gotten pregnant and abandoned her child. Shockingly, Rosemary believed him. She started raising the baby as her own. Joseph never stopped. He continued his assaults, and Elizabeth ended up having 7 children in total. One baby died at birth, leaving 6 surviving children. Out of those 6, 3 were kept underground in the bunker, and 3 were raised upstairs by Rosemary. So, while 3 children grew up in total darkness, deprived of air, light, and a normal life, the other 3 lived a normal life above ground. One of the children trapped in the bunker was Kristen, who had never left the chamber in 19 years. One day, Kristen became critically ill. Elizabeth begged Joseph to take Kristen to a hospital. For the first time, he agreed. When the hospital staff saw Kristen, they were horrified. She was pale as a ghost. Doctors discovered she had a severe vitamin D deficiency. She had never been exposed to sunlight. When the doctors asked Joseph about her mother, he repeated the same story, that Elizabeth had run away at 18, joined a cult, and abandoned her children. But the medical reports didn't match his story. The doctors became suspicious. Since finding Kristen's mother was crucial for her treatment, the hospital alerted the police. The media got involved. Kristen's photo was published alongside Elizabeth's. The news urged Elizabeth, or anyone who had seen her, to come forward. Inside the bunker, Joseph had installed a TV. One day, Elizabeth saw her own face on the news. She begged Joseph to take her to the hospital. Joseph agreed on one condition. Elizabeth had to stick to the cult story. At the hospital, police were waiting. Initially, they arrested Elizabeth, believing she had abandoned her children. But when the police spoke to her in private, she revealed everything. Joseph was arrested. Psychologists later studied the case and concluded that Joseph had been planning this for years, perhaps since Elizabeth was a child. He constructed the bunker long before she turned 18. And here's a question for you. Do you really believe Joseph's wife, Rosemary, had no idea? Do you truly believe that for years she had no clue what was happening right beneath her feet? Or do you think she was somehow involved? What do you think?